Every once in a while, somebody will sit down across from me when I do my podcast interviews, and I think the world actually doesn't know who this person is. And that's a problem, not for the person themselves, but for the world. And my guest today has been seen by millions of people. She's been talked about. She's been memed. She's been dragged. She's been talked shit on, misunderstood, sometimes all within the same comment section. It's kind of crazy. She's appeared on the reality television show, The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. And if you watched it, you probably think you have an idea about who she is. And I would say that you actually don't. What you don't know is that she's a very curious and interesting person. When I got to know Shinia, she came to me for help starting a podcast where she wanted to share her side of the story relative to some of her experiences, partly what happened on the show and just partly with real life. I found her to be somebody that's pretty level-headed. She's nothing like what you would see on the show. We've talked about things like brain science. We've talked about goal setting. And I thought to myself, this would be an interesting guest to have on the show here because of what we talk about when it comes to self-development and making yourself better, creating the life that you want. I saw somebody that legitimately was extremely misunderstood, but yet had a desire to create a big life for herself. And that impressed me. And so I thought, let's get her on the show. So I'd like to introduce everybody to Shinia Powell. Shinia, welcome to the lab.
Thank you. Thank you.
I know in the conversations we've had before, there's a lot of crazy stuff that's going on. So let's just lead from the front on this. Obviously, you've been on The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, and that's where a lot of the misunderstandings came about who you are and whatnot. What is the biggest misrepresentation that exists about you right now? Who do people think you are that you absolutely aren't?
Well, there's a couple things, I would say. First of all, I'm not friends with Taylor. Me and Taylor were not good friends at all. So that's like a big misconception that I think where a lot of the issues kind of led from, honestly. Okay. I feel like if people didn't think that we were that good of friends, none of the other stuff would have been as big of a deal, if that makes sense.
Sure. For those that aren't aware of the specifics of the show, there was a big confrontation in the 4th season between you and Taylor. I don't know if it was actually ever between you two, but you were two kind of focal points of a disagreement and kind of a interesting side-picking deal. And so if people want more details about that don't know it, I encourage them to go check the show out. But so you weren't friends with Taylor. That was one thing. What are some other things that are misconceptions about you that are out there?
I think a big one is that I was very, very into Dakota and I liked him a lot, which he's a great person and we are friends, but it was never, I don't think they portrayed our relationship the right way at all. That's for sure.
So people think that it was more than it was? Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it looks like it was way more than it was.
Interesting. So are you saying that reality television producers like to create storylines and make a lot of nonsense out of nothing? Is that a fair statement?
Oh my gosh, me say that? No. Yes, they do. They have all the control. They get to pick what they want, and it's usually not what you think it's going to be. So you just have to understand that.
Like it's an entertainment show, and so they take the puzzle pieces and they create compelling drama that we just sit and have our popcorn and can't wait for it. But as a reminder, I mean, I'm sitting here talking to you. You're a real person. You've had real experiences come from the negativity that was brought to you from the show. One of the things that I wanted to ask about that was basically, who were you before you were on that show? What was your life? What did you do? What was the things that were important to you? What were your priorities?
Before the show, I was best friends with Miranda. So I was involved in her life a lot, which I loved. But before that, it was just being a mom, taking care of my kids. That's always my biggest priority. And then I'm in sales. So I was just growing my business, doing life insurance was the main thing that I was doing.
You're a life insurance salesperson.
Correct.
Wow. So on your business card, which goes first, reality TV star or life insurance? Like which?
Definitely life insurance for sure. I've been doing sales since I was 19, I would say. And it's a huge passion for me and I love it.
That's really curious to me because on the show, you didn't have a lot of speaking stuff. You were just a kind of a figure that was there.
Yeah, for sure. I don't think they didn't portray anything about me, actually, I feel like.
So,
Yeah.
but in sales that's no small feat to be successful at sales, especially in something that is as misunderstood as life insurance.
Yeah, I think sales is the most amazing thing. It's completely changed my life because obviously I grew up and I was so shy, so closed off. I never thought I would do sales. And then as soon as I stepped into that world, I was like obsessed. And I think it's so good for personal growth. I think we're honestly selling ourselves every single day in some way. So the better you can get at it, the more you'll be ahead in life. I truly believe that.
In addition to what you just shared, what would you say is the biggest takeaway that you've learned from your career as a salesperson?
I would say rejection is so good for everyone, rejection therapy. And it's just not something that's stable. So you have to, it's like life, like up and downs. Like you're going to have a really bad week, but then if you're consistent and you do what you need to do, the numbers eventually show up if you're putting in the work. And I feel like you can take that with life as well. And so it's taught me a lot.
I agree with you on that. As an entrepreneur, a lifelong entrepreneur, basically I'm having to sell every single day my services, my products, myself. And I've had people that I've mentored over the years that were younger. They were in their, early 20s. And my encouragement to them was always go get a sales job.
Yeah.
Like you will learn what makes you tick. You will learn how to communicate better. You will learn how to handle rejection and to not take it personally. And you'll learn the structure of communication in ways to try to get what you want. There's something really important about learning how to say the things that you need to say in the order to say them so that you can create a dynamic where you can actually get to the bottom of what it is you're discussing. And sales is a perfect way to do that.
Perfect way, yeah. And honestly, if you're passionate about that thing, you're not even selling them, you're just selling the value that you have.
I love that you said that because sales is that's an important part of the sales process. You have to be sold on the thing that you're selling.
Makes it a billion times easier, that's for sure.
Yeah, you're just manipulating at that point if you're not selling something that you actually believe works.
Correct.
I'm glad that you brought that up. I wanted to kind of take a little bit of a different direction as well because as I've spoken with you before, you're from a family of 9 kids?
Yeah, I am.
And you're the only girl.
Mm-hmm. 8 brothers.
What was that like, growing up as the only girl with 9 dudes and your mom and dad?
I know. It was chaotic. It was chaotic, but never boring. It was so fun. There was just always so many people around the house. Never lonely for sure. There's always something going on. I loved it. I can't imagine life any other way, honestly.
So where are you in the order of children?
I'm second to youngest.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're basically the baby.
Yeah, they got a girl.
As the only girl. That's such an interesting dynamic because if there was all these
My mom really wanted
First of all,
a girl.
your poor dad was like, am I ever going to get a girl? He's like had 7 boys and he's like the 8th he's finally got a girl. I'm sure that you were.
Yeah.
Were you close to your dad? Is he still around?
He is still around.
As far as like alive?
It was my mom that wanted a girl. She was just like, I need to have a girl. And then she got a girl and she's like, okay, one more time. Let me try and get another girl. And of course it was another guy. So at least she got me. And I was the biggest tomboy, but I'm making up for it now.
Well, you kind of had to be if you got 8 brothers.
Right. I know. She didn't give me much hope there.
Well, you did talk earlier about being shy in school and I remember in a conversation we had off mic where you were saying that, sometimes you'd miss school to avoid a presentation. How did you overcome that to become this woman that's comfortable behind a camera on a reality show as well as a salesperson? Was there a pivotal moment you remember where you kind of bridged those worlds?
There was a couple. One of the biggest ones was sports, obviously, but just playing sports gives you so much confidence as a teenager. I feel like having that team dynamic and then pushing yourself always. But the biggest one was sales. I did sales, door-to-door sales, and I just got thrown into it. My husband at the time did it, and he was just like, go do this, go try it. And so I did it, and there's nothing like getting rejected 100 times a day by strangers that kind of just gives you confidence and lets you know that you'll be okay no matter what. And it changes everything. And so that would probably be my biggest thing that changed me from being shy.
That's almost in a way kind of a secular version of like a Mormon mission. You went door-to-door sales. You had to go knock on a door and be like, hey, I got this thing to sell you. And then they go, get out of here, get off my doorstep.
For sure. I mean, I was selling pest control. I can't imagine selling a religion and having someone try to change their whole life. So props to everyone that's been on a mission. I think it's great for them.
Well, I mean, there's a spiritual aspect to it. You kind of are just selling Jesus at that point.
Yeah.
Like, hey, I know this guy. He's kind of cool. He'll help you.
Yeah.
Come to this building every Sunday. It's pretty great.
Pretty great community. Some people.
Yeah.
Yeah. I agree.
Okay, so that's a dynamic that I wasn't aware of, that it was pest control and it was door-to-door sales. That's way different than life insurance.
Way different. Yeah.
So life insurance, correct me if I'm wrong, the rejection of life insurance is like over the phone.
It's over the phone. I started going to appointments, in-home appointments when I started, but that was like 5 years ago. And then I've been doing virtual for most of the time.
Yeah, that's way different than standing on somebody's doorstep and having them grumpily come answer the door.
I know. Girls,
Wow.
They said I'm a girl though. They treat you a little bit nicer than all the young boys. So I have that going for me.
I think I agree with you on that. When I think of any time I've had women come to my door selling something, it was a little, just, I don't know, it's not that I was ever openly like rude, but just it's a different interface. You know, you talk to them differently.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, at some point then, I'm curious in this kind of timeline of things. We will get to talk about the show in a little bit here, but I wanted to address in this timeline of shyness when you were younger, being the tomboy in this family full of boys, getting into sales. You had referenced an ex-husband, so you got married, you had children.
Mm-hmm.
At what point in that whole process did you start to see how much control you had over the life that you want to live? Where I'm going with this is I know that you're a student of NLP, neuro-linguistic programming.
Mm-hmm.
You're big on, understanding the brain and behavioral science.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know when that kind of became a thing for you. When did you get curious about the brain and behavior and all that stuff?
That would be after my divorce. So after my divorce, and then I kind of was moving away from being Mormon and religion. And that's when I really went into like how powerful your brain is and manifesting in the universe and everything like that, and just how powerful our thoughts are. And then I had my third brother die. And when things happen like that, they're there no matter what. So it's really up to you how you control them and handle them and what happens next. Because you can't control everything that happens to you, but you get to pick the next step.
I want to clarify something, because in your response, I heard you say, when my third brother died.
Yes.
I want to make sure that the audience understands it wasn't the third oldest that died. It was the third consecutive brother that had died. You've had 3 of your brothers unalive themselves in the last 7.5 years.
Yes. Yes.
Holy fucking shit, dude.
I know.
Like, how do you handle that? How do you process that level of loss and then again and then again? Your poor mom. Oh my gosh, dude.
My poor mom. She's literally a saint. She's amazing. She's the one that...
Are you comfortable if we talk about some of the specifics of those experiences? Because I think there's a lot of richness in that would be helpful to people to hear.
Of course, yes.
So let's just start at the beginning. So the first brother, where was he in the order of your family?
He was the third to oldest.
Okay.
Yeah, I was in high school.
And what was his name?
His name was Matt.
Matt. Okay, I want to honor Matt and talk about him as he's a real person.
Yeah.
He's just no longer here.
Yeah.
Okay. So Matt, what happened? What was the thing that was tormenting him so deeply that made him make that choice?
It had to do with his relationship, and he had a relationship not work out. And I feel like men sometimes, especially my family, were pretty closed off in a lot of ways. And so I feel like he was dealing with a lot of things that I will probably never know about, but also like a relationship ended and it was really hard for him. And his story is actually kind of crazy because when he killed himself, he went up in the mountains and did it, and he didn't tell anyone. So that was in December. And we did search parties for him and looked for him. And we kind of figured what happened, but we didn't know. We had people ping his phone, the cops, and they actually didn't find his body until May. So we didn't really know. And my mom had to deal with that for a while.
Okay, so just to make sure that I understand this. So he went missing in December.
Yes.
And his body wasn't found until May.
Until May. Yep.
So how did your family deal with that? How did you speak of it? Like I can just only imagine the level of just despair and worry and trying to hold on to hope, but yet, like how did you personally, because if he's the third oldest and you're the second youngest, what was the distance in age between the two of you?
So we're exactly 10 years apart. So
were you close to him at all?
I was so close. Yeah, he's amazing. He was so nice, and he was my older brother. I was the little annoying sister that was like, "Do you want to give me a ride here? Can I have this?" He had the older friends I was always trying to hang out with. It was so fun. But me personally, we talked as if he had died. I think we all kind of knew and we assumed. But then there's a part of me, like everywhere I went, I'd go to Walmart, I'd go to a gas station, and I'm like, maybe I'll just see him. Maybe like he just wanted to get away. And so I would just look for him everywhere. So honestly, it was really nice when we did find his body. It was just a sense of closure for sure.
So that must have been just a terrible 5 months of... So you were in your early 20s when this happened?
I was in high school still.
Oh, high school. Mm-hmm. Okay.
I was 17.
Wow.
Yeah.
This sounds so brutal to say, but he was one of three. So when did the second one happen? When did that?
The second one happened 2.5 years later. Yeah. And they were super close.
And what was his name?
His name is Scott. And so Matt and Scott, they were super close. They were always together. After Matt, we were all like, okay, like now don't take your siblings for granted. Don't take your family for granted. And Scott believed in that. And so he would try so hard to make us all feel so special. He would check on us. He taught me how to drive stick shift. It was so fun. But he would always be like, fake it till you make it, And then I just don't think he could fake it anymore.
What was tormenting him?
Just life. I think just life. I think all my family struggles with mental health, and you truly don't know. Like the day he did die, we were all together. We were putting solar on my brother's house. So we were together all day. We dropped him off at his house. He made plans with my mom saying that we would go to lunch that Wednesday. And that night, me and my mom, the cops came to the door, and it was me and her. They said that he had died.
Was he single? Did he have kids or married or anything?
He was single. Yep. Okay. No kids.
How did you process that one? Because the first one was so jarring, and there was the wait and the months of not knowing. And then this happened, and this was according to what I'm hearing from you, he was a more attentive brother, and there was a closeness after Matt had died.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you handle this one?
It's a really confusing situation because there's a part of it that's like, okay, we've done this before. We've been through this. So you obviously lean on your siblings more because not a lot of people have gone through this, but it's really nice to know that I had my whole family and we're going through this together. And then it's something that's so hard. You don't get that much closure because you don't know why exactly they did it. You don't know what was going through their mind. There's a little anger, like you saw Matt, like you saw us go through this with Matt. And I know you love Matt, and I know you love our mom so much. So how could you do this to all of us again? There's a lot of emotions that go through it for sure.
Matt was the first one, and you said Scott is this one.
Mm-hmm.
So what was the age difference between you and Scott?
We were 6 years apart.
Were you numb at this time when it happened, or were you still pretty raw about everything?
I wasn't numb. No, I was just trying to handle. There was so much going on in my life at that time. Like I had just met my husband and I was going to college. And so there was a lot going on in that way that I was just, I don't even know. I had a lot going on.
Matt, Scott, and then the third one.
Third one. Yeah.
What was his name?
His name was Mark.
Mark.
Yeah.
So what was the story and circumstances surrounding Mark's passing?
Yeah, Mark's passing, that one was my hardest one for sure because he's the next closest to me. So we were together all the time. He was the best. Yeah, I love him so much. He was so good with my kids. He met my daughter and my son, and he only lived 10 minutes away from us. So I was around him a lot. But he kind of kept to himself. He had a hard life. He didn't like his job. He didn't really know where he was going. He was in a relationship that was not good. And yeah, that one was actually really shocking when it happened.
Did he have children?
He did not. None of them did, thank goodness.
Thank goodness, yeah.
Yeah.
This one you said was the most difficult one for you?
Yeah, this one, I didn't realize it at the time either. I didn't realize that how hard it was being on me because it was also another confusing situation. It's our third time that we've gone through this. I think I just pushed it to the side and was like, okay, I can do this. I've done this. And it was actually breaking me inside and I was just avoiding it all.
How long ago was this? It wasn't that long ago, wasn't it?
2 years. It's been 2 years.
2 years.
Mm-hmm.
So how are you coping with all of that right now?
I've done
this. Still, 2 years is a long time, but it's still not a long time at all. Like that's really fresh.
Yeah. His birthday was actually yesterday. I'm coping with it now. I didn't before. I was doing other things to cope with it, I would say. I was drinking a lot, just not living to my full potential. And I didn't even see it. That's the scary thing is I didn't really see how messed up I was being for it. And I think a lot of it stemmed from losing Mark. But since then, I feel like I truly have tried to look in every aspect of my life and fix the inner workings. And it's really hard, but it's also very possible. But I also don't think I would have done that if I didn't get to a breaking point as well either.
Describe that breaking point for me. What happened to where you couldn't go back? The things inside of you were like, I have to release this. I have to move on. I have to heal. What was that moment for you?
It was just a moment that I thought I just wanted to kill myself too. And I didn't want to be here anymore. And looking back now at that time, it's kind of crazy because you never truly understand what someone's going through that's been in that situation until you've been in there. Because I would get so mad at my brothers in a way of like, why didn't you tell mom? Why didn't you leave her a letter? Why did you do this to us? But then when you're in that exact moment, you're not thinking about anyone but you in a way that it's selfish, but it's like everyone would be so much better off without me. I just need to do this. It's like a really hard situation to go through. But I also am grateful for it in a way because I feel like I would never have that understanding of what I feel like I do have of where my brothers were at, if that makes sense.
Mental health has obviously been something that you're passionate about and that you learn a lot about, and you clearly want to talk about it. You and I are working together to launch your podcast here soon. Mm-hmm. And the very first conversation we had, it was along the lines of that the mental health crisis is more of an honesty crisis than anything, and that people aren't just honest with where they're at with their lives and what they need. Mm-hmm. Can you expound upon that for me?
What was hurting me the most is I wasn't being honest with myself. I was numb and I was avoiding everything that I needed to deal with. And I was doing the same things over and over again that were making me more sad, more depressed. And then I would avoid more things. So I feel like mental health really is just not being honest and real where you're at. And if more people did that, I think they could take the next steps to get better for sure.
I think there's something to be said as well. When in that moment of personal honesty, you learn what you actually need.
Mm-hmm.
If you're really honest with yourself and you pay attention to the emotions that you're feeling. And one of the things that's important to me is that we exercise curiosity over judgment when it comes to things like this. Instead of shaming a feeling that we have and judging it, asking ourselves, what is this about? Like, I'm feeling this thing. Where's it coming from? Does it work for me? Why am I experiencing this?
Yeah.
Similar to you, I've spent a lot of my life learning about the brain, about emotions, about intelligence that way. I built a career as a coach and a consultant, helping people to understand themselves in a better way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's been one of the things that has been a change for me in my understanding about this stuff, is that your emotions are just a signal.
Yeah.
It's telling you something. And you can either listen and hone into the signal and receive the transmission of the signal and then do something about it. Or you can suppress it and sedate it, whether it's through drugs or booze or sex or gossip or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you don't deal with it. And it doesn't go away. It just finds different ways to leak out into your life. And that's where it becomes an honesty thing.
Yeah. I think the hardest part is at the end of the day, at least for me, I was like, I know I'm doing this to myself. And if I'm going to change it, I'm going to have to be the one to like really deepen and fix it. And that's really scary to a point that it's hard to come to the truth that you're the one hurting yourself. And also you're the only one that can make it better. It's a really confusing situation, I feel like, that a lot of us don't want to really deal with.
I really appreciate you bringing that up, because I think there's nuance to focus on in that you absolutely have to do the heavy lifting of your own healing,
mm-hmm.
but you don't have to do it alone. Like having the proper support and community around you, whether it's family or spouse or friends or whatever, like having people in your corner that aren't there to do the work for you, but are there to create an environment that makes it to where you can do it without additional judgment, additional pressure, shame, guilt, all those emotions that try to isolate you and make you feel alone.
Mm-hmm.
That to me, I think, is one of the most misunderstood parts of this. It's one of the most arguable parts too, is that the concept of mental health gets blamed sometimes to, chemical imbalances and all of these other things. And there's so many simple things that make that process easier to understand. Are you getting good sleep? Are you hydrated? How's your diet? Do you take care of your body?
Mm-hmm.
Like, these are considered controversial takes when it comes to like people that are dealing with depression. It's like, well, did you get out in the sun?
Mm-hmm.
It's very curious how so much, and this is going to sound insensitive, but I think it needs to be said. A lot of times people dawn upon themselves an identity of being somebody that struggles with mental health. Like, I'm just this way. And it's a part of it. I think in this whole honesty conversation, it gives them an excuse to behave badly.
I feel like we've talked about this too, where I feel like they're at the time the saddest person in the world. And like, no one has been where they're at right now. And as soon as you take that away, it's like, no, like, other people have been more sad than me. People have been exactly where I'm at. And they simply got out of it because I tried. And so I can do the same thing. I'm not special. I'm just a sad person that can get better if I truly want to.
And I think it's important to, we're saying things in a very matter of fact, and it could be interpreted as harsh, but there is a compassion that when we see people going through this, we're like, well, we want to be supportive. But
for sure,
I think that the most controversial take there is that, like, well, it kind of starts within. Like, if you don't want to change, nobody's going to get you there.
Situations are different for sure, but I feel like being there and being on the other side of it, I just know what it takes. And I feel like to a point, I feel like almost everyone could get better if they really try.
Well, that's a great sort of platform to have a conversation via a podcast about mental health.
Yeah.
And especially about some of the things that you've gone through. It's really interesting. We just heard you talk about just the gut-wrenching experience of you dealing with your brothers and the loss of that, and just the internal turmoil and way that you sabotaged yourself, and then you were dealing with things in your own way that weren't healthy. and then you transitioned out of it, you have a perspective that includes the entire path.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning, well, let's start just using the situation with your brothers. You didn't choose that. You didn't make that choice. You weren't manifesting to experience that for yourself,
Yeah.
but you had it happen.
Yeah.
It was in a family dynamic. It was difficult. I'm sure it made you ask some very difficult questions internally about God, about who you were, about all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to do something with that. And because life is a squirrely pattern, sometimes we take the long way to our own healing.
For sure.
I'm curious about this now, because now when we sort of merge these two worlds, like seeing a glimpse of you as this salesperson that's dealt with rejection on the doors, you're a mother, you were married at one point, you have an ex, and so there's a dynamic there. And then to watch how they painted this picture of you on this television show as this person that was connected to one of the main people on the show. And they basically just kind of stripped you of a lot of dignity in a way. Quite honestly, the innocent connection and intention you have with this person on the show named Dakota gets spun into this whole thing to turn you into this sort of, there's really no nice way to say it, this like loose person, this home wrecker, this cheater, and it's like, it's when you get into it, it's none of those things, clearly.
Yeah.
Where do you see yourself progressing in that whole narrative of that show? Because if I recall, you were a part of the filming so far of season 5 as well, correct?
Yeah. I don't think my perception on the show will change much. I don't think they're going to give me that light, honestly. I feel like I'm going to stay the character that they want me to be. And they've already betrayed that. I mean, they may be in the future, but...
Are you okay with that?
I'm okay with not having control over that, yeah. But I would like to show people who I really am, but I just don't think it will be on Secret Lives, for sure.
Maybe start a podcast.
Really? That's a great idea.
So obviously, looking at you as this person on a television screen is one thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then seeing some of the way you've got hate online and you've dealt with that.
Mm-hmm.
You've had loss of friendship because of perceptions of certain things. You were once basically best friends with Miranda, and that relationship has been strained because of the things that happened on the show. Is there anything in this conversation we're having that you wish you would have got to say that you didn't get to say to the fans of that show?
Me and Dakota, it had nothing to do with Taylor. And we got together so innocently, and we were just friends and hanging out, and it had nothing to do deeper than that. Me and Taylor were not friends. That's my biggest thing, is it was all innocent in that way.
I've seen some of your comment sections on TikTok and Instagram. How do you handle the trolls, the hate?
About the Taylor and Dakota situation, I handle it because I feel like they're just so off and it's not correct what they're saying. So it's easy to handle because I just feel like they don't know what's actually happening.
So far from the truth, it's almost laughable. You're like,
exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that makes it easier. When I know for myself personally, when I get, criticism or hate and it's close to home, when it's something that's like, well, that actually is a reasonable criticism and it just stings. Like that's a harder thing to accept than some nonsensical storyline that was written that's so far from the truth that it's like you're like, what are they talking about? That's not even close to true. So you're a single mom and you're rebuilding the narrative and story about you in public.
Yeah.
You're starting a podcast.
Yes.
And you got a full plate of stuff. You have other opportunities that you're considering within that TV industry.
Mm-hmm.
What is something that you figured out about yourself now that you wish you'd have known 5 years ago?
I would say that I have a story to be told and I have the power to help people. And I wish I would have started doing things like this sooner, I would say.
When did you first decide that you wanted to start a show?
I wanted to do a podcast for a while. I would say February a year ago is when I really dove into mental health, getting better, and I wanted to just help other people. So I would say it's been about a year. Because if I can do
And
it,
so
anyone can do it, honestly.
Sure. Well, and so if we line up those timelines, that was a year and change after your brother's passing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And was that a part of the process in your mind of like, I need to get this out there more? Like, this is something that is really important.
Yeah. I feel like I'm a very avoidant person. And it takes me a while to really deal with my emotions and figure them out. And I feel like I'm not the only one. So I would like to help other people before they get to where I was, if that makes sense.
That's a very brave thing to like self-admit that you're an avoidant.
It's so,
especially in
I'm
public.
such an avoidant. I can't avoid that I'm avoidant.
Oh, that's hilarious, actually. I can't avoid that I'm an avoidant.
Yeah.
Well, and I appreciate that just even acknowledging it, you can
Mhm.
put yourself in a position to transition to more secure in your attachment.
Yeah.
But at the same time, like there's a bit of compassion that you are due for what you've gone through that would create an avoidant experience.
Mhm.
I mean, that's a lot to deal with in a very short period of time.
Mhm.
Also considering during that time, you went through a divorce.
Mhm.
You had other things that happened. Like, you're not even 30 yet, dude. Like, so to have dealt with all of that in your 20s,
Mhm.
yeah, I'd say it's a short leap to go, oh yeah, she's an avoidant. Duh. Like that's,
Yeah. Makes sense.
well, at least you're an avoidant that's alive. That's
Exactly.
a big deal because we're glad you're here because that's
Thank you.
when you were struggling with those things as far as like your own desires to kind of check out and everything, how much of your family experience went into the way that you coped to turn away from those negative thoughts?
That's the scary thing, is it? You would think that I would be like, oh my gosh, I can't do this to them again. They've been through this. I can't do this to my mom, everything. But in that moment, it truly, you're not thinking about anyone but yourself. And your mind just plays these crazy, crazy games on you to truly convince yourself that everyone would be better off without you. And you're not thinking about any of the consequences of what would happen the next day. And that's why it's like, I couldn't stay alive for anyone else. I had to stay alive for myself. And I did that. And I'm very proud of that. But also, it's a scary thought that you're not going to stay alive for other people, even though they're the most important people of your life, you know?
Yeah.
At least for my situation.
As I hear what you're saying, it sounds like you were close to the edge.
Mhm.
You had 3 examples in your life of exactly what to do in different ways.
Mhm.
So it's more familiar. It's not like you're having to go Google ways to do this. Like you could figure it out and it was just your brothers showed you.
Mhm.
And you still then didn't allow that to be something that you succumbed to.
Mm-mm.
When Shinia in 10 years looks back at you today,
Mhm.
what do you think she's going to say to you?
I hope she'll be super proud. I mean, I think I have such a purpose right now, and that's something that I've always wanted to have. That's my biggest motivator. I have so many things. I want to be an example for my kids. I truly believe how important mental health is in your mind and just controlling your own reality and how much power we have over our lives. We are the creator so much that I just feel like truly knowing that you're kind of unstoppable and the sky's the limit and you just got to go for it. And I fully plan to.
I love that. Your show, as we've done work on it, we've started to determine that it's going to be for a specific demographic of woman.
Mhm.
There'll be more details about that public in the coming days and months.
Yeah.
But, the women who are going to find your show, they're going to connect with it, that are going to listen to it and support it. What's something that they're carrying that we don't talk about, that they don't talk about, that you will talk about?
I would say I want I want to be relatable. I feel like I've gone through many situations that a lot of young women are going through. And then I also want to give them hope that they have so much power within themselves to be fulfilled and do what they want and to change their life wherever they're at. If they want to grow more, if they're lonely, if they are depressed, that there's just hope. And I want to give them the steps and the tools to truly change that I didn't really feel like I had.
Basically present yourself as a leader of sorts, that you're struggling with it. Here's a map.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I appreciate your time talking with me on the show here. And I'm excited, obviously, for... Do we want to get into the details of like what your show is going to be and everything yet, or do we want to kind of keep that close to the chest?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's do it a little bit.
Okay. So, what's your show going to be called?
Unedited by Shinia Powell.
There it is. The untold story. There it is.
The untold story. Be ready.
It'll be out in a couple months, depending on a couple things that we're working on to make the show happen. And there's obviously potentially some opportunities that you might be a part of that could interrupt that, but not the launch of it specifically, but just the timing of it based off what you've got going on.
Correct.
It's been a fun project and to work on this. It's one of the joys of my life is helping people to get to that place where they can not only find their authentic voice, but then get the power to speak it and then learn the skills so that it's easier to connect with people, so that with what they're saying then resonates.
Yeah.
And you've been a fun student. So,
well, I want to tell you thank you, because I could not do any of this without you. And you're creating something that's so important to me and that I need to share with the world. And I feel like I couldn't do any of it without you. And I feel like you see my vision. And so I truly appreciate it. And I'm so excited.
You're welcome. Glad to do it. All right, guys. So we can, knock this whole mutual appreciation thing going off. We can take that off camera. But so for you members of the lab, if you want to learn more about Shinia or get a good laugh at how they edited her, you can go check out The Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. If
you won't really get to know me,
it's kind of funny. Yeah, it's kind of funny is that as a content creator myself, I've had certain spurts of growth, and on my TikTok, it's 20-some thousand followers now. It's not that impressive.
Yeah.
But 90% of those followers have come because of my commentary on that show.
Yeah. People love it.
And I've been able to, I met Chase through DMs on that, because I did a take and he's like, bro, like you're reading my mind. What's going on here? And then same with some of the other cast members there. And I didn't meet you through that. I met you through my doctor. Like your best friend is connected to my doctor. Exactly. And so that's how we got introduced. Yeah. But yeah, it's been interesting to like have that part of my personality be able to kind of be showcased in a way that it's so not buttoned up.
I know.
And then to have to now be working with you, and it's like all these pieces are kind of coming together in this really funny way. It's like, dude, this was the guy talking shit on Secret Lives.
And then I'm like, I want to work with you.
Yeah, right. So, but I'll take it. And stay tuned for her show Unedited, because it's going to be out in a bit. And I think it's going to be far more dynamic than anybody is going to consider. Mm-hmm. You have such a crazy story. I mean, consider what we talked about. Like, you were painted to be this homewrecker on this show in a very small part of the storyline with a bunch of drama surrounding it. And it even created a situation where you lost friendships over it, mm-hmm. to then learn about the story of all the drama and like just the hardship of your family with your brothers. And then for you to take all that and to want to do something and propel it into the future as a way to use your own experience to help other people. Like, it's really kind of awesome. So I'm proud of you for being willing to do that, because that's some people, especially as an avoidant, most people would avoid that. They'd be like, nah, dude, I'm going to sit this one out. But you're not. No. You're taking it to the airways. Yeah. Before we adjourn, is there anything that we didn't discuss that you'd like to discuss? Is there anything you'd like to say as a parting thought?
Just be ready. You guys don't know me, but I'm hoping to show you the real Shinia. And I'm excited for you guys to actually take that, and then you can do whatever you want with it after you know the real me.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, my friends. Well, this has been Shinia Powell. Where can people find you if they want to connect with you on social?
My Instagram is Shinia_24.
And what about your TikTok?
Shinia Powell 652.
Are there any sort of meaning behind those numbers, or is it just that you're the 652nd Shinia Powell to create a TikTok?
Honestly, I got hacked and they changed my name and I never changed it back. So there you go.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Dude, that's a great story. Okay.
I should change it.
I'll put those in the... Maybe.
Yeah.
Shinia unedited or something. Maybe there you go. That's
exactly. I like that.
Better do that before this releases so nobody steals that name from you. But
I know. Well,
I will put those in the show notes for anybody that's listening that wants to go follow you. Naturally, if there were parts of this conversation that really resonated with you as a listener, please feel free to reach out to me. Of course, reach out to her, follow her on her socials. Just kind of watch the triumph story here. Like, consider what this woman has been through and where she's at now. And that's something to cheer on. And so, Shinia, thank you so much for being willing to come and share your story and to have this conversation. This is The Lab. And like I always say, till next time, take it a day at a time. I'll see you.
I love that.